Okay, so it was my junior year of college, and I was doing a community theater production of The Last Night of Ballyhoo out in this town, like 40 minutes. I mean, I grew up in the Sacramento area, so any show that I had to do was like 40 minutes away from me. So you drive a lot, you don't get paid, and you're a student. So essentially, like, you just, yeah, that's how it works in California. And so I was driving home, and I actually took back roads home every day because it cut like 5 minutes off my drive instead of taking the freeway, and I could like speed down these back roads because there's like nothing out there but like dead grass and cows. And so it was Tech Week, I think, and I was driving home at like super late at night and rocking out to Jesus Christ Superstar. Like, I had just done that show too, so I was like, my favorite was to sing with Judas because he like gets falsetto-y, and I like to pretend that I have a fake male rock falsetto. Yeah. And so I'm driving, and there's this one curve that you have to slow down to like 10 miles an hour, and then you can go back up to 50. So I'm just getting back up to speed and like rocking out, and all of a sudden, like right in front of me, like 10 feet, like this cow turns its head, and I like, it was the most surreal moment of my life. Like, so there's cow, and I just remember like reacting, turning, like hitting the cow a little bit, and then there's another cow in front of me, and like swerving back. And I like never went off the road, like I just nicked the cow. And then all of a sudden, like the silence broke because all sound went away. The silence broke, and I heard screaming, and then I registered that it was me screaming. And I'm like driving, and I'm like, what? I guess I pull over? So I pull over, and there's this truck that had been behind me, and it pulls up behind me, and I'm just like sitting there like, I don't even know what to do. There's no one around. There's just this cow that I hit. And so he like pulls up, and he's like, are you okay? He's like, if you hadn't swerved like that, I would have hit that cow head on. I would have died. Like, you saved my life. And so we call an ambulance, or we call the police, and they're like, where are you? And I'm like, the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm driving down White Rock, and it turns into Grant Line. Like, I don't even know where I am. Like, this is the curve. I like describe it. And then essentially it turned out that I was like right in between where the police come, so they didn't even know who to send. So we're waiting, and like there's occasionally cars coming by, and we're like flashing our lights because the cows are just like walking down the road. Like, one, I saw it in my rearview mirror coming up behind me, and I like rolled my window up and like locked my door and just like stared at it as it walked by because I was so angry at this cow for terrifying me. And so one guy like nicked it, and he pulled up, and he was like, I just nicked a cow, and it like knocked my mirror off. And we're like, okay, we called the cops, so just wait, and they're gonna come. And he was like, okay. And then he like took off, so we're like, oh, he was drunk. And then, so, you know, we managed to warn most of the cars, but then as me and this guy are like talking, we see a car coming, and we hear a thunk, and we see the headlight like swerve, and then go back across the street, like, and into the field on the other side. So he's like, I'm gonna go help that guy. So he drives, and like shortly after, like an ambulance pulls up behind me, and it was like, you know, like, what's going on? And I was like, okay, yeah, I hit a cow, but someone else, it was much worse, like hit him head on, and he's down there. So I sent them on, and then I'm like sitting in my car, everyone's like going over there, and I'm like still sitting in my car, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I just kind of like creep up to the next like scene, like in my car, and then like a police officer come up to me, and I'm like, I'm the first one, and I explain my whole story. And so like, just wait here. So I'm sitting in my car, like the windows are rolled down. I call my parents. They're like coming out to pick me up because I'm like, I don't want to drive home. And I hear like they're like jaws of lifing this guy out of the car. And I hear him like wake up, and he's like, oh my God, I hit a cow. Oh my God, I hit it. Like, that's all he could say. Like, he couldn't even process what was going on. And he was like driving this little tiny car, and like the frame was like around him, like the windshield was like this. The cow was dead, like it broke its neck. They couldn't even figure out, like later on, they couldn't even figure out whose cow it was because like they were calling like the 4 fields of the owners, and like no one answered. And so they moved the cow to the side of the road. They got a hold of someone, and he was like, that's not my cow. He went back home. When they went to pick it up, the next day it was missing. So like, I think he called his neighbor, and like, because they can get in trouble for that. So someone had hired a detective. I received calls like months afterwards, like from detectives trying to figure out what was going on. So my parents came, like I was driving, my car was sounding weird, my parents came, picked me up. When my car is towed back, and my dad was like just getting into photography, so he had like a nice camera, and he brought it with him everywhere. And when we were like checking out my car to figure out what was wrong, there was like a tiny chunk of cow meat like stuck to my car, and my dad's like takes his camera out and he's like trying to find the best angle to get the lighting right to like capture this chunk of flesh on my car. And yeah, so, and then I showed up to rehearsal the next day. We had like put our orders in for the Mexican food that they're gonna like order in, and so they handed me like a steak torta, and I'm like, oh no! So I actually ended up, like, I drove that car for like 2 more years until it died, and I always told everyone, like, they'd make fun of me because it looked really beat up because now it had all these dents in it, and I was like, hey, it battled a cow and it won, so my car is a warrior. So.